What's up everyone, my name is Kelsey, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing the over 30 book tag because I'm now 30. My birthday was August 29th. I'm actually filming this before my birthday, so it's like cheating a little bit, but it'll go up on September 1st. So when you see this, I am 30. I came across this tag last year sometime and I thought it would be really fun to do it when, you know, I'm finally old enough to. And I think this tag was just created because the BookTube and Bookstagram and Book Twitter tends to be like a younger crowd, people in their teens and 20s. So it can feel like a little jarring to like be communicating with people that are all far younger than you all the time. So this is like a fun way to find older booktubers that you might be able to relate to a little more. The original tag was by Ink Not Blood, so I'll leave that linked down below so you can check out the original video, and I'll just get into the prompts. I will say some of these prompts were harder than I expected, mostly because they require a bit of introspection, and I read a lot of fantasy and sci-fi, and it's hard to answer some of these questions with those books. Like we'll get to it. So the first prompt is name one of your favorite books that features a protagonist who is 30 years or older. This was hard because I read a lot of YA, and even the adult books I read tend to feature characters in their 20s or younger. Some of the adult books I read feature teenagers. But would this even be a Kelsey Reads video if I didn't mention The Last Son by Katie Edwards? All of the main characters are in their 30s, and actually, there are other characters that are in their teens. No one in their 20s. But the main perspective character is in his 30s. But that feels like cheating because I talk about the book all the time. So also, I have The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This actually follows 3 perspectives, but one of the perspectives is a much older character that's had 2 children. So she is well over her 30s. I don't know if it actually says her age. Okay, question 2. Name a book that represents who you were when you were younger. For this, I have The Extraordinaries by T.J. Klune. This was a recent read of mine. That's a really fun young adult, like superhero related story. And the main character, Nick, I think that's his name. Goodreads search functions, I swear to God. No, how did you even get that? It took me to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The Extraordinaries. There we go. Nick. I was right. His name was Nick. All that for nothing. So Nick is a huge nerd. He is obsessed with these superheroes in his town. He writes a long-running, very dedicated fan fiction with a self-insert main character. He has ADHD and finds it very hard to function. He's very close with a small group of friends. And just like everything about him, I find extremely relatable. So he's my answer. All right, question 3. Name a book that represents where you are in your life now. Okay, this is hard, and this answer is also a reach. Once again, I read a lot of sci-fi and fantasy, and as much as I love these books, I am not in the midst of, I'm not in the midst of the apocalypse yet, or space travel, or any of that shit. So I went with The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Koala. And this is sci-fi. It's like an alternate history sci-fi about a woman who wants to be the first woman astronaut after a meteor has crashed into the Earth and is rapidly making it uninhabitable. So there's a mission to put people on the moon, on Mars. I can't remember exactly. And she wants to be one of the first women astronauts. I don't want to be an astronaut, okay? I chose this book because it's about a woman who is very dedicated to her goals and is doing everything she can to make them happen. And I feel like that's where I'm at now. Like, I'm working on my career. I'm taking up more hobbies that I enjoy just for fun. I had this really big problem when I was younger where like everything I enjoyed, I decided I needed to make money off of it in order for it to be a good way to spend my time, which is dumb. I can just do things because I like them and I don't have to make money on them. That's capitalistic society for you. Anyways, that was my pick. Question 4. Name a book that represents something that has never changed about you. So for this, I'm going with Let's Pretend This Never Happened by Jenny Lawson. This is a memoir from a blogger, Jenny Lawson. I think her blog's name is The Bloggess. But this is just like her life story and all the fucked up shit she went through, and she frequently makes light of and makes fun of her own mental illnesses as like a coping mechanism, and that's something that I've always done. I have always made fun of myself in an affectionate way. Like, sometimes I do stupid shit, sometimes I say dumb things, sometimes I'm erratic, sometimes I'm impulsive, and like, I can make fun of myself for those things and like them about myself at the same time. I highly recommend that book, by the way. It's fucking hilarious. Especially if you can get the audiobook, because she reads it herself and it is so good. And she describes all of the pictures from the books. It's amazing. Okay, number 5, name one of your favorite classics. According to the original tag, people over 30 are classics now. So for this one, I'm going with The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I know a lot of people hate this book, but the first time I read it in high school, I really loved it. And I was just such a sucker for Nick. Once again, is it another Nick that I love? Yeah, his name is Nick. So I just really liked this book. And it was like one of the first books I read in high school where I really got the themes and the symbolism. So I've always had an affection for it because of that. And yeah, I just really like it. Also, the 20s, the big parties and shit. I don't know. I just found it very compelling, very engrossing. Okay, question 6. This is the last question. Name a book you like or would like to read that was published in the year you were born. I actually misread this question. So I have a book I would like to read published the year I was born. This has been on my wish list for a while. A few years ago, I did a reading challenge, and one of the prompts was a book published the year you were born. So I had a few books on my wish list that fit this, and one of them I still want to read is called Gender Trouble, Feminism, and the Subversion of Identity by Judith Butler. This is considered like a classic of gender studies. It's something like, if you were to study gender in higher ed, you would probably be assigned this book. I've heard that it's very dense and kind of hard to get through, but I'm still interested in reading it. And it's just about, I think Judith Butler talks about how gender is performative primarily, and it just sounds really interesting to me. All right, those are all the questions. I don't have anyone to tag because I don't know who's over 30. If you're over 30 and you want to do this, go for it. I'd love to see your answers. I post book-related videos every Wednesday, so if you want to see more, subscribe. If you like this video, hit like. If you want to keep talking, you can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Kelsey Reads, or Goodreads at Kelsey Lynn Reads. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.